Welcome to the Women's Agency Podcast, where together we turn up your voice, grow your influence, and elevate your impact. This show is brought to you by the Women's Agency, amplifying women's voices. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I'm Arlia, and you're watching the Women's Agency Podcast. I'm thrilled to be back at Serendipity Labs, Cumberland, Vinings. I am very grateful for their sponsorship and this beautiful creativity lab that they are donating for my use for the Women's Agency Podcast. And one of the great advantages of being here is meeting extraordinary people doing great work in the world. And today my guest is one of those. Her name is Natalie Southwell. Welcome, Natalie.
Thank you so much, Arlia. I appreciate the opportunity to come and...
Happy to have you. All right, I'm going to read a quick bio and then we're going to dive in. Natalie Southwell is the founder and CEO of The Essence of a Woman, LLC, a leading consultancy dedicated to empowering women in their professional growth journey. With over 20 years of extensive experience in software engineering and IT management at a Fortune 20 company, Natalie has garnered invaluable expertise in cybersecurity and supply chain IT. Leveraging her background, she strategically founded her consultancy in June 2023, committed to fostering authentic leadership among women, striving to overcome self-doubt and lead with confidence. Love that. As a project management professional and executive MBA graduate, Natalie specializes in designing and delivering comprehensive workshops, masterclasses, and tailored business consulting services. Her approach incorporates a 4-stage educational model to cater to diverse learning preferences, ensuring impactful and personalized guidance for her clients. Natalie is the author of The Dangers of Ignoring Your Heart's Whisper, a seminal work providing a foundational framework for authentic leadership among women. Welcome again.
Thank you so much.
Your bio, cybersecurity and IT management, that sounds like it was a pretty heavy duty, intense work you were doing.
It was. The work that I did across my career has been tremendous. It started with software engineering. That is where my degree is. And so I launched into software engineering, not directly out of sight of college, because every other person's life, your life kind of does a pivot. So it took me a while to get back into it because there's with this little baby that needed a mom to care for. And so I took some time off my career before launching into it, and so started in software engineering and then climbed the ladder from there doing program management, auditing, and system engineer management. So just a whole gamut of IT information systems. It was a journey that was met with uncertainties. There were a significant number of things that I had to overcome, as well as learning how to manage different platforms with different people. There's the people side, there's a process side, there's the software side, and all of that come together can be quite daunting. But I was able to really kind of leverage the support that I had to be successful.
Yeah. You mentioned people. What did you learn about people during those years?
People, the one thing that I learned about people is that you can never think that you know someone, or you never can think a meeting will go as planned, because people are people and things happen. And so you could prepare for something, you can prepare for a presentation or a meeting, but the people that are involved in the audience or the questioning and things like that, it will just take you for a loop sometimes. And you just have to be ready to adjust your style based on the people you encounter, based on their needs. And so I find that it was really, I had to become a student of people and learning people and how to interact with them in a way that I could gain what I need from projects, from execution, being productive, them working for me, inspiring them and motivating them to do their job in the best way, and also being empathetic to them. A lot of times when you have people that work for you, they encounter a lot of different challenges that life kind of throws at them. And so how does that change their work or executing and things like that? So having that model of being able to understand people are people, and they come with all sorts of different characteristics, elements to them, uniqueness to them. And you just have to be able to understand that being able to identify and come from a place of empathy is the best way to have that emotional intelligence to work with them in a way that requires success for both.
Absolutely. And so how did you transition from that work into coaching?
That was a journey in itself. The one key factor is people development. The thing that I really enjoyed about working as a leader was, again, motivating, inspiring people. That was in solving problems, right? And so that journey, the reason that I'm involved in coaching now is because I got to a place at work that I didn't recognize myself. I was bleeding on the inside. No one could see it, but it was there. I suffer from codependency. And codependency just means you're the one that wants to fix it all, fix everyone's issues, their problems. You want to be there to help them. You compromise your own goals for the sake of their goals. You have no boundaries typically. So if they need you to work later, you're there all hours of the day. You compromise family. You compromise just you. And I didn't just do this for the work environment. I also did this as part of my own life and relationships that I was involved with. I mean, you're no different. You're the same person, whether it's in your professional life or your personal life.
Yeah.
You have certain attributes that are similar and you just can't change who you are. And so the dynamic of that fabric was woven where I was the same. So I was having issues with the family, being that mom, being that wife, being that sister, being that woman that was basically available to everyone. And people knew that. They could count on me.
I'm just tired listening to you. I know you must have been so stretched.
I was so stretched, yeah. And it was during the pandemic, honestly. I had taken a job from legal IT and decided to move into the supply chain. And during that time, during the pandemic, the supply chain was one of the toughest environments to be in.
Yeah.
And
I can't even imagine the stress.
Yes. My applications that I supported were inventory execution, the area is called inventory execution. So all of the products from international and domestics, I was responsible, my systems were responsible for routing those products to the right locations, distribution centers, so it affected work schedules. So if the products didn't get to the distribution center, then you got hundreds of people who can't work. You got truckers who can't move product. And so there was always this $1 million pressure and always war rooms. And I was probably leading a team of 75 onshore, offshore. And the fact that the systems weren't able to really accommodate these route changes and systemically handle the load, it made for a very traumatic experience. So I moved in this role in 2020, thinking that, this is a new opportunity. I'm coming out of cybersecurity. Let me take on this something different, right? Sometimes in our desire to satisfy that bleeding, we think going to through another door may be the answer. And that just left me bleeding even more.
Yeah, but wherever you go, there you are.
There you are. So I was there and I think I did a really good job. I inspired my team. I just remember people enjoy working for me. They enjoy, so I'd come in, of course, every day and I would do these inspirational messages. I would send one, even though when I first came into the role, I did an assessment of the systems, the state of the people, the morale. We had very low scores as it relates to people enjoying the role, feeling, or in the company or the work that they were doing. They didn't feel that they were valued and their previous manager didn't make time for them to develop. It was all about just executing. And sometimes people need to know that people care about them. And so I came in with this people love, right? Caring for the people because I have this codependency, right? I want to make sure you're okay. I want to fix you. I want to make sure that you're in the right role and you value the work that you do. So I'm going to assign you that work. And that can only go so far when you are also being challenged with stipulations from executive planning of we need to do these things are important and you're forgetting about the people. So they really, I think leadership stopped caring about the people and it was more about the bottom line and the dollar and how many customers was coming. And I get it. When there's no product in the stores or customers, I can't buy this. And so you go to Amazon, go to Lowe's, you go to these other places to solve your problem. And so I found myself at a place that I just really felt stuck and burnt out, not just from that professional perspective, but also personally. I lost my direction. I didn't know where to go. And so I found myself just needing support. And someone reached out to me It's amazing. Social media can do that. And there was this ad, and it was just saying, it was answering every question that I had that no one knew but me. So on the outside, I'm still this Miss Fix-It. I am here for you, whatever you need, but I'm broken on the inside. I need to be cared for. So this Facebook post came across my platform or whatever, and I decided, let me just see what this is about. And I paid some money that I never thought I would pay. And it turned out to be one of the best decisions that I could have made. And I did this for me. Because again, when you're in codependency, when you're people pleasing and validating others, you never think of you first. You never want to give or buy yourself anything, take the training that you need. You feel like, let me give this to someone else. And so there were times I didn't even buy myself clothing. I remember my mother-in-law said once, I'm so glad you're finally buying yourself something. I could spend hundreds of dollars for my children and other family members for gifts. But for me, oh no, let me buy something. And this program caused me to sit down with myself and gain clarity. And a lot of times we look outward and we think it's everybody else, but a lot of times it's us, right? It's our shaping. It's how we've allowed certain things to cause us to not identify with ourselves anymore. I was so many things to so many people. I lost who I was. I didn't recognize myself in a way that I felt good anymore, because in front of you, Arlia, I would be this way. In front of the leader, I'll be another way. In front of church, I'm another way. I'm whatever you need me to be. And at some points, my core values were compromised, where I don't like to go here. I don't like to go to these places. I don't really like these environments. And just to please you, because this is where you like to go to lunch or for dinner. And so I did that enough until my body says, you need to listen.
Yeah.
My body broke down. Mentally, I broke down. Physically, I broke down. I was just broken. And I took myself off the battlefield. I took a 4-month leave of absence to really get medical care and to focus. And I went through this program, and that's when the change began to happen. And as I discovered who I was and who I wanted to be, I was quite different than who I was showing up for everybody else. I didn't like that person anymore, and saw myself really being accountable to my dreams now. So I got my executive MBA. I wrote a book, and I began to tell my story. It's not a full story, of course. It's just some bits and pieces of it that I felt that would be instrumental and to help someone who may be experiencing the same challenges. I sat down one day after I was doing some real good work. This started, I think, about October. By January, I was doing some really good work. It was time for me to go back to work. And I was like, I'm not ready. And so I stayed out a little longer. And I would say about February of 2023, I just started writing my feelings out. This process allowed me to start journaling. That's something I didn't do. Because when we write about how we're feeling and putting it to paper, we see that we're thinking things like, wow, I didn't know I was thinking that.
Yeah.
And when you look back and you see what you were thinking, okay, I like the shift and the change. And you can see you're physically changing. Your neurological pathways are being shifted and you're thinking differently. And so I liked this new person that I was becoming because I was more positive focused. I was more in this self-discovery mode, and I was liking it, journaling these thoughts of affirmations. And so in February of 2023, I just sat down, I started writing. I was not journaling this time. I just put my headphones on. I put on some type of music, and I just started writing. Next thing I knew, I was at 7,000 to 10,000 words.
Wow. Just started flowing through you.
It just started flowing through me. And I was surprised about what I was writing about. And it started with, have you ever felt stuck? Have you ever been in a place where you didn't know how to free yourself from it? And a lot of times when you are stuck, if you think about being a piece of tape or something stuck to a piece of tape, it requires you to pull it off, someone to pull it off for you, right? I needed some help to be pulled off of that way of thinking, off of that job. So I started writing the book. I got the first 10,000 words, and I just said, okay, look, hey, now I can tell you all about blurting and me blurting this out, but what's the real message that I want to leave? And so it's an inspiring journey of self-love and empowerment. That's where I began to share, okay, here's where I was, but here's how you can too. That led me to another Facebook encounter or social media encounter where someone reached out to me. Hey, you ever thought of speaking? Have you ever thought of writing? Have you ever thought of coaching? And I was, yeah, to myself. Now I'm this career woman. No, coaching, what? Who does that? Like, how do I explain that to my family? And I paid for another program. And I was really learning about myself. And I was learning that there was more out there than I saw. Me being focused on information technology and the software engineering piece, that was great. But there was so much more out in the world that I was unfamiliar with. And I began to take an interest in it. And as I was being coached, I saw the value of that coaching. And so it was easy to translate that people love, developing people, to then coaching them from a place of, I know how you might have gotten here. We're here now. Let's go forward. We can't change the past, but let's start from today and create a new future for tomorrow. And so that birthed that vision. Published a book in May. By June, I said goodbye to the company.
You just don't waste any time, do you? You decide you're going to do something, and it just happens.
It happened with the new me. Now, otherwise, no, it just takes me a long time. I was stuck, so I didn't know how to leave and remove myself.
Yeah, that's a beautiful story. We're going to take a break.
Sure.
And when we come back, I want to hear more about the book and also your coaching practice.
All right.
We'll be right back. Gather the team at Serendipity Labs, Atlanta, Cumberland for a collaborative work experience. Discover why they have over 100 five-star reviews and see how Cumberland is the best fit for your business. Call 470-264-7431 today to start planning your next team workday. Welcome back. We're talking with Natalie Southwell, a former corporate executive turned leadership coach for women and an author. Let's look at your book, The Dangers of Ignoring Your Heart's Whisper. And it sounds like you wrote this in weeks.
Pretty much. Actually, it was just a few days. I just started writing about just ignoring how the impact of not listening to your heart's whispers. Like all along, I was being told there's this pruning, there's this unction to make a change, to do something differently. And you have this tendency, or at least I have this tendency to just keep going despite what your body is saying. As women, we're strong, right?
Yes.
We do it all. We wear so many different hats, and sometimes that's to our detriment. And my body was telling me it's time to really to give yourself some space, give yourself some time. You need some time to really think, to process things. And I didn't know what that meant. I felt that was selfish a little bit. Taking care of yourself when you're so accustomed to taking care of everybody else. You're like, I'm the one that eats the last meal. You know what? I want to make sure that the children, the family have theirs, and I'll eat the crumbs. And I think I had gotten to a place where I no longer wanted to eat the crumbs.
Oh, yeah. I went through the same process, but more in like my late 30s. And it completely changed my life. And did not really please the people around me.
Yeah.
Did you meet some resistance?
Oh my gosh. The resistance was the hardest part, because people who you thought could understand and be supportive of your change were unsupportive. And I can remember long relationships that were important to me. I found that I had to start to distance myself because they did not recognize the shift or want to embrace the new me.
Yeah.
And I knew I could no longer stay in this people-pleasing, people-acquiescent state anymore. And so in order for me to become the true person and the authentic person to myself, I had to let go certain relationships and friendships. And eventually they came back around, but that was so difficult. Even I remember, even like with my mom, I mean, parents and siblings, they know you from childhood and they have these expectations of this is who you are. And that was no longer fulfilling for me. And so I even had to process having to change before my family. In some regards, it was really good because I became more at peace and they could see how I was now gaining or requiring respect. Because when you create boundaries or set boundaries for yourself, it helps people to understand how to treat you. I had no boundaries, so you could do whatever, treat me however. and I'll just figure out how to adjust for you.
Mm-hmm.
And now I say, no, I'm not available at this time. I no longer can do this thing, or, oh, yep, I had something planned here. And it was just tough. But in the beginning, it took practice. And I think that's how we're able to become successful is we start small. And I started
Yes.
small, and I would make incremental changes that eventually came to this broader change where you could see real growth.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very pleased with the growth. And they, I believe, saw the change as well and could respect me in a way that was mutual for us.
Yeah. Big lessons.
Mm-hmm.
Big lessons.
Yeah.
And I resonate with all of that. I went through all of that myself and lost some relationships in the process. But then at the end, I had to put myself first.
Yeah.
And then I was actually me and could build a life with people who appreciated and could see me. So I get that.
Yeah. I like the word that you used. They could see you.
Yeah.
You were seen.
Yes.
And I think I lacked my voice and being seen, my physical identity, my emotional identity. I was not seen nor heard. And so I became an advocate for being seen and being heard for myself.
That's beautiful. And I love your journey because you really encompass the spiritual work, but the corporate environment, understanding what it is to be a woman in corporate life these days, which is, for all our progress, is still not easy.
Right.
And at all.
Yes.
But two final point on that. But so you bring such a wealth of knowledge and experience and then your own transformational process. How did you get into coaching and what are you doing now with your client?
Yeah. So I got into coaching just starting. I just said, this is what I want to do. And I jumped out there. I had a coach that said, I think you would make a great coach. And I was going, I don't know about that. And I'm being challenged because, again, I was the one that allowed you to kind of dictate what you thought I was good at. And so it took me a while to embrace that. But when I started seeing that this was naturally, organically a part of my DNA, which is helping people reach their next level, I felt, okay, I can do this. Because I didn't know what to talk about. I didn't know how to coach. I know what I experienced. I know how to escape certain traumas and things like that, how to put tools and strategies in place. I know how to do that for me, but everybody's different. Like, how do I help everybody in all their different scenarios that they encounter? But I didn't even know what practice. So there's life coaching, there's business coaching, there's leadership coaching. There's so many gamuts of coaching. And so it took me probably a year to figure that out. I think I just began to figure that out. I did a little bit of everything. I was doing relationship coaching because I've been married for over 30 years. And I understand what it means to communicate, what it means to be in a relationship where you lack vulnerability, and to the point where I was trying to even please the needs of my spouse without getting my needs met, and feeling like as long as he's okay, I can figure out me. I can be okay. And that's just not the makings of a healthy relationship. So I began to understand what was healthy, what was unhealthy. And so I would begin to coach for people who were needing healthy relationships. But at the core of the coaching has always been leadership, how to lead your own life in a better perspective, whether it's on the job or personal. And I think that began to resonate with me until I took a coaching certification to understand, because I know it's different than psychology. Psychology, there's significant amount of education there. My work comes primarily from my experience, personal and professional, and it also comes from just being able to have that understanding of how people work and how they think. And from there, I just began to start putting programs together based on the women that I was encountering. So they became my test models, my subjects, and I would build customized programs for them until eventually I figured, I got this. I was torn between something that was on the spiritual side, because that's that's a part of me. I'm professional, right? Everything that I do is all about every I dotted, every T crossed, coming from that world of perfection. And I realized I can't do this without my Lord. I can't do this without that anchor that has held me throughout my life. And so I have to include that. And so I eventually rewrote all the courses to something that felt good to me. And so now I offer programs with a holistic approach because if your spirit is unhealthy, your soul is unhealthy, your body's unhealthy, any one of those areas are broken, then that there's the whole that's being affected. And so you have to take time to spend and to understand what's going on with my thinking. Why am I thinking this way? What's going on with my body? I'm hearing these thoughts. I feel my knees are aching and my back is aching. What's happening? Oh, you're not exercising. You're sitting too much, or maybe you're eating inflammatory foods. And so looking at those things, spiritually, you feel down, you feel broken. Okay, have you been praying? Have you disconnected? Have you separated from God? What does that look like? So really tapping into understanding. So clarity is then engaged, and then therefore tapping into those different areas, honing in on the ones that need the most development, and then working through those.
I love that. The Women's Agency and its sister company, the Women's Sanctuary, are absolutely holistically focused. And the Women's Agency is meeting the whole woman, because those of us who are speaking with books, with a platform, need all of that support to do what we're in this world to do.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So your programs now are holistic, and you're able to address whatever's happening in that woman's life, but you're also focused on leadership. I noticed you said leadership of yourself.
Yes. And honestly, when you are able to lead yourself, you're able to lead others, right? So then that translates into the workplace. And so a lot of the clients that I have today, they are women who are desiring to be promoted, come out of fear-based environments. In IT, it's an all male-driven, male-dominated environment, and there's not a lot of women, especially in leadership. And so when you have women who are software engineers or project managers, and then the men are treating them as though, take the notes here, or can you schedule the meetings? And it's no, we have the same title. You can take the notes, you can schedule the meeting. And so leading from a place of courage, saying that there's no disparities. And also I wanted to bring a point, because that's leading me to a place where in the corporate environment, I was on the diversity inclusion teams where women were not paid equally. And so I would champion to make sure that their pay was equitable to the role and the responsibilities through their title as their men counterparts. It was always, I would kid you not, $20,000 difference. And there was a disparity. It was huge disparities. And a lot of times they would be doing more than the men. And so I really am focused on women leading in the workplace, and leading yourself, understanding how that looks makes it easier to stand up and be courageous when you're at those tables and when you're seated with those men who are very domineering and matter of fact, and how you can do it gracefully without being that one that feels like she has to come out of herself in order to be heard.
Yeah. We need that support, that kind of courage. We can do it alone, but we don't have to.
Right.
And to have people like you kind of behind us going, stand up for yourself. You can do this. You've got this, and you deserve it.
Absolutely.
And they know where you've come from. They know that you've been in those trenches and done that work.
Yes.
So tell us about what you're offering now. And you said you're serving mostly women in corporate who need that kind of support, and to make sure that they're following their own heart and their own path. Do you have any other types of clients or other coaching that you're offering, and what kind of programs do you have?
Yeah, so I do. So primarily it's for the woman in leadership or desire to go into leadership. Those are the clients that I'm really focused on right now. A lot of them have fear, and at the root of the fear, it could be fear of failure, fear of rejection.
Fear of success.
Fear of success. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Fear of success is a big one, because when you are being judged for your success and how did you get here, and feeling other people are pulled up by the ranks, but you work to get there, feeling that it will be taken away. Sometimes there are organizational changes that will shift you into different roles where you don't particularly appreciate and desire not to be, but you're forced into these roles. And so you're wondering, based on all the sacrifices that you made, how did I get here?
Yeah.
And so it's helping you to understand a lot of these are just based on business decisions. It's not you. We internalize I don't want to call it rejection, but we internalize sometimes the move as a form of a strike against us. But when you really understand the dynamics of how decisions are made, it's easier to maintain that level of confidence of how you got there and not to feel like you're an imposter. Okay, you're now in this role and you don't know how you're going to be able to succeed in it. It is being able to understand the mindset of those that are making those decisions, but keeping that separate, but about who you are and what you're capable of delivering. So I help those women really understand how those fear-based models it spirals in so many different areas. If there's fear in one area, trust me, there will be fear in another area. And so tapping into that and saying, there's no reason to be a fear. Where is this fear coming from? Let's talk, let's address it. And a lot of times the way you overcome it is you face it. Sometimes people would say, do it. If you're afraid, do it afraid. And I would say, do it, but do it courageously. Don't do it afraid, because even when you do it afraid, you're not your best. The fear is still hindering some level of success from you. Do it courageously because you understand how much God loves you. You understand that He wants you to lead from a place where your yes means yes and your no means no. And if someone doesn't like what you're saying or doing, it's not necessarily, don't use that as a judgment against you or strike against you. Does that make sense?
Yeah. About being able to stand in your strength and not take it personally.
Right.
And also, you're also talking what I call integrity, that real coherence with yourself, which is just beautiful.
Yeah.
How can people learn more and get involved in this great work you're doing?
Yeah, well, thank you for giving me this opportunity to share that. My website is Essence, ESENCEOAW.com. So essenceofawoman.com with those abbreviations. But that's kind of really how to learn about the book and the courses and the different things that I offer. There's also, you can get in touch with me with info@essence, ESENCEOAW.com. And just to inquire about services and things like that. But ultimately, it's just really to leverage some of the social media handles. There's LinkedIn and everywhere. And so not hard to find. Google Natalie Southwell. I think you'll find me.
Beautiful. And your book is The Dangers of Ignoring Your Heart's Whispers. Natalie, thank you so much for being here. I applaud your work and I just send you all sorts of love and blessings.
Thank you.
That it will prosper and that the people who need you will find you.
Yes. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us today. This has been the Women's Agency Podcast. We will see you here again next time. Thanks for joining us. This program is brought to you by the Women's Agency, a full-service podcast production and coaching firm in Atlanta, Georgia. Visit thewomens'agency.com for more.